Today I've got the pleasure of speaking with Kenny Watson, a senior automation manager from the KION Group. Kenny, can you give us a brief overview of yourself and your experience in automation?
Yes, good afternoon, James. Thanks very much for that introduction. So I'm Kenny Watson. I head up the automation sales for the KION Group, in particular the divisions of Lindy, Still, and the mobile automation for kind of like Dematic. What gives me the privilege of being in that position is I've probably spent the last 30 years in and around both solution design, implementation, the selling, and the management of automated solutions of varying sorts. So that makes me both slightly knowledgeable, which can always be dangerous, but also, excited for the future of automation in general.
Brilliant, brilliant. And where did the passion for the industry come from? What made you want to be a part of this industry specifically?
Well, I'm maybe a bit unusual in the sense that I love change. I really enjoy change. I enjoy technology, and in particular, a lot of the advancements in technology that there's been over the last kind of like 3 decades. I could see in the very early stages that a lot of the kind of the IT world and technological developments were going to play a huge part across industry, and I just wanted to be part of that kind of industry journey.
Interesting. And speaking of change, what sort of changes have you seen in the industry so far?
Well, I mean, I think when you look across industry, the whole advent of, like robotic technology within manufacturing, some of the improvements and the developments in particularly microchips and processing power of computers, the decision-making kind of like logic that comes with those type of systems, are probably some of the biggest areas of change that I've kind of like witnessed to make those type of solutions more credible, more economically and operationally credible for different markets.
Mm-hmm. And have you got any predictions of future changes that you can foresee?
Well, I think maybe we saw each other yesterday, didn't we, at the exhibition? And I think what was really interesting for me was just seeing how camera and vision technology aligned to AI algorithmic logic are going to make that next step change, in terms of performance, and how the technology works operationally. And I think that's a pretty fantastic development.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What would you say are the biggest hurdles that you've faced in your career, if there has been any?
I think the biggest issues that I've faced, particularly in the UK, have been cultural. I think the UK is very much an employment generation kind of like country. And therefore the adoption of automated technology has been a lot slower than some of the other countries like Germany and France, where there's been a large uptake and implementation of these different sort of like solutions. But, we're now starting to see a lot of progress and movement within the UK market because of the availability or the kind of cost of labour. And that's a real kind of like step change, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how long do you think it will take for mobile robotics as a technology to be fully adopted and integrated into your top integrators and businesses?
Yeah, it's a good question, that one. I mean, I think what we tend to find is that when somebody's developing a new facility, then that's the best opportunity for them to be able to implement or adopt new technologies into those business advancements. When somebody's got an existing facility, it can be a bit more challenging to implement and integrate a solution. So I would say because of that, we're probably another maybe 4 to 6 years away from a lot of organizations being able to take full advantage of the different type of automated solutions that exist today in the market.
And how do you think we can improve people's trust in mobile robotics?
I think exposure, kind of like knowledge, and referencing what's out there, what others are doing, I think will give people the confidence that they need to consider implementing it for themselves. And there's more and more evidence that's being gained across industry. And that's going to give customers a good opportunity to know that they're not pioneering and they're not taking, a large risk as being the first to market. They're getting something that others have already, gone through that journey before them.
That's interesting. Obviously, since 2020, we've seen a big boom of mobile robotics businesses globally.
Yeah.
In more recent years, we've seen a few of these companies starting to struggle and perhaps close down offices in Europe. In your opinion, do you think the purge of the great startup wave has begun?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think AMR technology, autonomous mobile robots, there's something like 120 companies that are all offering in Europe a similar solution. And there's probably about 80 to 90 of them are from the Asian continent. I think the big challenge those type of organizations have are big differences in safety, technology and standards, but also just in terms of resource and having the ability to provide the right level of localized support to those customers,
Mm.
given their geography. So I think as a result of that, there's a lot of them that won't advance. There's some of them that will be absorbed into larger organizations because they've got a successful kind of product or solution. And then there's some that just don't have the wherewithal to sort of scale in the right way to be successful ongoing.
Right. So it's an aftermarket issue in your eyes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an organization in a country and somebody wants to sell you something from two continents away, then because you're buying high technological solution and it's business critical for you, so therefore any stoppage or lack of continuation can have a real impact on what you're doing. You want to make sure that you have somebody locally that can respond and fix whatever the problem is to keep your business running.
Yeah.
And that's where organisations like Linde, Still and Dematic really come into their own, because they all have localised engineers who are doing solutions like this already. So it's just a natural extension to that portfolio.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's really insightful. Speaking of new technologies, AI is such a hot topic right now. Do you think AI will have a significant influence on the field of mobile robotics?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's already having a significant, kind of positive effect on, like meeting organization and meeting minutes and producing things in a lot faster kind of way. Where I think it'll really add value to the mobile robotics field is in decision-making logic.
Right.
Um, what I mean by that is it'll be able to see and evidence something, know exactly what it is, and take action as a result of the
Mhm.
information that it sees. So I think AI combined with some of the vision technologies that are coming, I think are really going to be a positive thing for mobile robotics in the next couple of years.
I see. Do you think there's any main challenges that it could face?
I think the biggest challenge will be the number of people that have the competence and the capability to develop and install these things. So AI is running at such a pace, organizations are obviously
Mhm.
trying to put the infrastructure in place and put the training in place to try and keep up with those developments.
Mhm.
So I think depending on how fast it accelerates, and how companies can keep up with that, I think will be the biggest kind of a challenge.
Mhm. What companies do you think are doing it the best right now in both the AI and the mobile robotics space?
Well, I think my companies are doing the best in
Mhm.
the mobile robotics space, James, but you'd probably expect me to say that. I think I think there's so many organizations out there that are taking different solutions and using them in different ways. I'm not really sure who's using AI the best. I know that for a lot of our aftermarket adventures in particular, we're using AI to be able to help make decisions on, maintenance and service and obsolescence of component parts, and kind of ongoing, servicing requirements. So I think there's things that are already out there, and I think they'll continue to be adapted to suit the use.
Mhm. Interesting. So, Kenny, what has been your biggest achievement in the last year? Or is there anything that is coming up in the future that you're really excited for?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the last kind of 5 or 6 years in my role, I've been selling to market. So I'm very proud of the fact that we've now got a number of new facilities out there that are operating with our technology. And those are business critical applications to, global kind of like organizations. So I'm very proud of those achievements. I think I'm now in a role where I've got the privilege of leading a kind of small team, of growing experts in the field of automation. And I've now got the challenge of making that team
Mhm.
kind of like, sell and develop and kind of grow. And that's something that I'm really excited about in the next couple of years.
I think that's a great answer. Is there anyone in the industry who's had significant impact or influence on your style of work or the way you like to operate?
I think, I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, I don't know that I could necessarily highlight any one individual, but I think throughout my career, what I've tried to do, and I think this might be of interest to anybody who's just starting out,
Mm.
is to listen to people who are already in a position of expertise, or who are being successful in a particular field. Because if you can learn from those individuals who are driving that success, then for yourself, that success will also be gained. So I think it's about listening, it's about learning, and it's about taking every opportunity that's presented to you, and kind of like progressing that in a way that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, listening, learning, and taking that on board. That's really good advice. Speaking of advice and people looking to join the industry, obviously it's an ever-growing industry. Is there any specific advice other than obviously what you just mentioned that you would give to someone who's looking to start up in automation?
I mean, I think for me, it is all about that learning space. It's go and research and find out as much as you possibly can. Join industry groups, go to online webinars and events, listen to what the experts are kind of like saying, and then do some more research. Because the more you know when you come into the industry, the faster your acceleration will be in what you're kind of doing. Um, but then what I would say is be open minded to the fact that you're going to learn a lot.
Mhm.
Because these technology, I mean, I'm still learning. Just when I think I've learned, along comes a new technology and I have to learn the new technology and what's going on. So it's a constant evolution of learning. Um, and I would just say to be open minded to that, and to learn as much as you possibly can.